So guys, another video on Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Now, I did do another take on this where I espoused a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have much time and there's been new news upon the other new news that I was covering. So I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as possible, guys, because I really do need to get going soon. So, without further ado, let's get into this, and I'll try and explain certain things as well to provide a reality check to certain normies who perhaps have seen this kind of experience, this kind of situation. So, a little recap. Basically, Amber Heard accused Johnny Depp during their divorce proceedings that he was a domestic violence abuser and abused her for many years during their relationship. And he ended up losing career-defining roles like Captain Jack Sparrow. Disney fired him because of what were essentially allegations. They weren't even proven. And in fact, these allegations would later be thrown out of court with prejudice, meaning she can never, ever, ever accuse him again. Red flag. But hey, you know what? Disney. They just gotta have that squeaky clean image they never actually had. Unfortunately for Johnny Depp, things still did not look good. Despite the fact that the real reasons behind her doing this were so she could get his property and money, things still looked bad for him. He was still being demonised in the media. She wanted to be women's representatives for those who were being abused by men. And she penned a Washington Post article which essentially accused him of all these things, I think including rape. I think she may have accused him of that. I cannot remember the exact contents of this thing, so take it with a grain of salt. But she said some things that were considered defamatory, and thus Johnny Depp has initiated court proceedings against her, which has been going on for many years now, and in fact she has tried to get this thrown out of court several times, Amber Heard has, but she has failed every single time. The only thing she's managed to be able to do is to get the court proceedings pushed back. So they were originally meant to be December of last year. It's now going to be August this year when we get to see the trial unfold. Many things have since leaked. First, we discovered that actually Johnny Depp was the one being abused. Now, we should have seen the red flags along the way because she initially went public with this and showed her war scars, her bruises, her cuts, whatever, and she had a really bad face. For some reason, on certain days where she was meant to have been attacked, she looked absolutely fine. In particular, a James Corden appearance where literally she was attacked the day before, allegedly, yet she looked perfectly fine. Now people say she hid it with makeup, but the thing is the makeup artist, who is still her makeup artist, has never said that actually she was injured. And in fact, there were many photos of her throughout that week, throughout that month, where she looked completely fine. When the news broke, she had all these bruises. The bruises kept changing and shifting, and she seemed to heal really, really quickly. And then we find out that actually Johnny Depp was the guy who was actually the victim in this situation. He was the one that was cut, he was bruised, he was punched, and not only that, she threw a mineral vase at him, a glass at him, aiming for his head. He managed to deflect it with his finger or something, but it sliced his finger off, resulting in him having to have it reattached. When I say finger, I actually mean his tip of his finger, but he's now got the scars for life, and you can actually see that is a real scar. So all that broke. Then a big leak happened last week. Essentially, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp were in this discussion with each other. They were talking about things were going on, and Amber Heard just admitted straight up, at least to us anyway, they already knew this was going on, that she was the one that hit him. She was the one that had the issues. She was the one that was the monster that was being provoked by him. By provoked, basically he was not being good enough for her. It really wasn't provocation at all. She just wanted to hurt him because she's a narcissistic sociopath. But whatever, guys, let's just ignore that, because obviously that's not important to the feminists who are still defending her, or at least trying to brush this story under the carpet, because it destroys their narrative of only the women can be victims, that men are horrible and are always the perpetrators, and that women don't lie. You know, this is just an outlier, not the norm. It's not a huge percentage of all accusations. But then another leak where Amber Heard and Johnny Depp are talking about the run-up to this court proceedings. I think it was a couple of months ago this was actually recorded. Apparently they used to do this a lot. They recorded each other for therapy and other things, and she essentially mocks him. She mocks him, saying that nobody will believe him because you're a man. You will not be believed. Nobody will take you seriously. They will believe me, the £115 woman. You, the £195 man. Yeah, you may have all this evidence and stuff, but nobody's going to believe you. Nobody. You're ruined. essentially. I'm paraphrasing. I will link all the stuff in the description down below, but that is what has happened. And people are outraged by this. People are getting crazy over this. They can't believe that a woman would say such a thing to a man, that somebody like Amber Heard would do such things. Well, I have a newsflash for you guys. This is the reality of the situation. The reality that pretty much most male victims of domestic violence have to go through. They have to go through the fact that nobody will believe them, that people will shame them, that people will do nothing for them. I've recently watched a video by this young lady, Autumn she's called. She goes through Doug Stanhope's editorial piece, his statement that he made in defence of Johnny Depp, and nobody went to help him during this entire situation, mainly because they were worried that he would push them away, which is a legitimate worry. Victims do tend to be manipulated by their victimizers, and part of that is to push them away from their friendship circles. Nobody likes to admit that they're essentially being abused and manipulated. There are stages to this, but again, they didn't even try to help him. And even when all of it was said and done, when they finally admitted it to each other, all the things they wanted to say to each other for a very long time now, Doug Stanhope and Johnny Depp and all the rest of the friendship circle saying, we wanted to help you, but we didn't know if you would push us away or not. And then Johnny Depp said, yes, I know this has happened, going to do something, she has threatened me with destroying my reputation if I don't give her what she wants, and lo and behold she did. Doug Stanhope didn't speak up. Some people did, obviously, like Vanessa Paredes and Winona Ryder, but it's a bit different for them because one, they're former partners of his, and two, they're women. But even still, Doug Stanhope and a lot of others didn't speak up when he needed it the most. They didn't stick their head up above the parapet until very much recently. Those are problems that male victims have to suffer through because people don't believe them. People find it odd that a man could ever be a victim of domestic violence, and she's right when she says that nobody will believe him, or at the very least most people will not believe him, because obviously he now has a wave of support because of all these exposing documents and leaked audio that's come out, essentially. So he has support now, but that says nothing about whether or not a judge will rule in his favour. We don't know that. We know that women can have evidence right in front of the judge that shows they did a crime. It's so obvious, yet they will still get away with these crimes because the judge, for whatever reason, maybe they fancy them, maybe they feel sorry for them in some way, they're manipulated by tears, who knows? It's irrational. They shouldn't even be thinking that way. These women will walk scot-free or receive a lenient sentence. Possibly, despite all this evidence screaming at the judge in the face, Johnny Depp could very much lose this, despite the fact that every time that Amber Heard has gone up onto the witness stand and lied under oath and wilted under cross-examination, we still do not know if he can possibly win this defamation case. So people do realise this, normies especially. This is what happens to male victims, and the chances are most of you will continue to commit the same mistakes you made towards Johnny Depp, because you will assume that this is the outlier, this is not something that happens frequently when it does, and when the next Johnny Depp happens, or when the next pro Jared happens, or whoever it is, it doesn't always have to be domestic violence that a man is accused of. You will, again, believe the woman when she tries to say that she's a victim when actually she isn't. There was also one thing that I didn't mention in my last video, which was the petition that went around. Because as you know, Johnny Depp lost a lot of work. At least work that he could have potentially have had, but some that he definitely did have was cancelled, and that was in particular the Pirates of the Caribbean. He's no longer Jack Sparrow, a character apparently he really loved portraying, one of the many career-defining roles he's had. He lost that because Disney, again, they just want to look squeaky clean, and they can't be having a supposed, not even a proven domestic abuser on their payroll, so he had to go. Well, now there is a petition going around to try and get Amber Heard removed from her role as Mera from Aquaman. Now, she's not the greatest of actresses anyway, and she's gotten many of her roles since then from the marriage from Johnny Depp, because in Hollywood it's not just talent, who you know, what you believe, etc. that can get you roles. I'm sorry, it's a nepotistic industry and it'll probably always be that way. That's acting, that's film, that's theatre for you. We know that she's gotten a lot of these roles, these big roles, because of what happened to her, because of her increased public spotlight, her increased exposure, her initial popularity boost from being a victim and being a spokeswoman for victims of domestic violence. This got her a load of roles because, as we know, Hollywood is very left-wing, and having her on your books, giving her the good life after the horrible life she had, would be considered a very good thing. Well, now apparently that's going to change. I was saying on Twitter recently that considering that they ignored her previous case of domestic violence against her ex-wife or ex-girlfriend, Tasia Van Ree, where she publicly beat her up, essentially, in front of a police officer, no less. If they were willing to ignore that and still give her roles, why would they care about Johnny Depp being hit? Well, apparently, this is only a rumour, and you should take it with a grain of salt. To quote MITCH, she may well be getting removed from her role in Aquaman 2 by Warner Brothers. We don't know if this is the petition's role in this, because, 200,000 people and counting have since signed this petition. I don't know. It's still a rumour. We will find out within the coming weeks whether or not Warner Brothers have made a decision to get rid of her. All I can say is, I don't see it happening. But they're only doing this, I think, if she does get sacked, because it's Johnny Depp, and because it's so out there in the public, it's screaming at you in the face how guilty she is, that they simply have no choice but to sack her. If they do it. I don't think they will. I'm not going to sign the petition because I have no faith in it. If you want to sign the petition, you go ahead and sign it. But I don't know, cancelling her, what good is it going to do? It's not going to bring back Johnny Depp's roles. It might not even save his reputation, really, because once you've been tarnished with that, you will have that for the rest of your life. Even your children. Because apparently, in some of the leaked audio, his own child, his own son, is being essentially bullied in school because they all think that Johnny is a wife beater. And that's all her fault. As for a lot of people who are now jumping essentially on the bandwagon defending Johnny, and a lot of the people who didn't necessarily jump the bandwagon, but I had to question why they're defending him, because Brian Martinez from Honey Badger Radio pointed this out, that a lot of them are women, and a lot of them also, to be fair to them, are, like me and Brian and a lot of others, defending him out of high principles. We believe in due process, we believe in evidence, we believe in, protecting all victims. It's not just men, but women as well. We believe that people should not be lied about, that people who are domestic violence victims should get the help that they need to get away from the situation, to bring the person that abused them to justice and things like that. And even though they share some of that as well, they don't do it because they want to see the situation for male domestic violence victims in particular. They don't really care about that angle. They don't care about making it better for them. They just want it better for Johnny because they like Johnny. And I mean, I guess that's fine, but you really have to question what they're going to do when somebody else gets accused of being a domestic abuser, because I don't think that they're going to give those people the benefit of the doubt. Johnny Depp has been helped immeasurably by simply being Johnny Depp. If it was Steve Buscemi or anybody like that who's not as good looking as him, who's not as famous as him, they would be ruined. They would never work in Hollywood again. But because he's Johnny Depp, he has that extra bit of luck, that little bit of something else that can help him in this situation. If it was a normal man like me or any of you watching this, we're basically screwed anyway, regardless. But anyway, I could go on, but I need to go. So anyway, guys, I don't think anything's going to change after this. It's going to take years before male victims get the help and the justice that they deserve. When society changes their stance on them, Amber Heard will probably never see a jail cell. She will be fined if she is found guilty of defamation, but she won't go to prison for it. She won't go to prison for any of the things she did to him. She will never suffer the consequences. People will look at her differently, if they remember it, that is. So anyway, see you later, guys.